Okay, let's dive in. You sent over some really interesting stuff today, specifically this announcement that kind of shines a light on one of the biggest headaches in Web3, right? Moving money around.
Yeah, that whole bridge between, your regular bank account TradFi and your crypto wallet.
Yeah.
It's often where things get stuck.
Totally stuck. We're talking about that friction, the annoying delay when you try to move money from, say, your checking account into Web3, or maybe even more frustratingly, trying to get it back out.
It really is a fundamental bottleneck, isn't it? I mean, for all the cool stuff happening in crypto, just getting fiat in or crypto out, well, it's often clumsy, that whole on-ramp, off-ramp thing.
Exactly. And the source material you shared, it hits on points I think a lot of us have felt or at least heard stories about.
Yeah.
The super long waits.
Yeah, waiting days sometimes.
Right. And fees that just sort of appear.
Yeah.
Or getting your account frozen, like at the worst possible time.
Mm-hmm. And the interfaces can be pretty clunky, too.
Yeah. Yeah, just confusing. And it's a pain whether you're, just an individual trying to cash out a bit, or maybe even more importantly, if you're a business trying to get new users onboarded who are starting with, well, just regular money, fiat currency.
But the announcement actually calls it a broken experience.
Yeah.
And I think, that's pretty fair for how a lot of people encounter it right now. It's definitely not smooth.
No, not at all. So, okay, this announcement centers on a company called Abyiss, Abyiss, and them going live on the SKALE Network.
Right.
So our mission here for this deep dive is really to unpack what Abyiss says it can do about these problems.
Right.
And crucially, what does launching on SKALE mean for making these transfers, these on and off ramps, seamless and compliant too?
Yeah, they're positioning themselves as a full solution, end-to-end, specifically designed to tackle this exact friction point.
Okay.
And, fixing this gap is, well, it's vital. If Web3 is ever going to really hit the mainstream, moving traditional money in and out has got to get way, way easier and more reliable. It's a huge barrier right now.
Couldn't agree more. So let's get into the how. What does this announcement tell us about Abyss's approach? They have this really clear goal, right? Making crypto as easy to use as a debit card.
Which is a great analogy, isn't it? It immediately makes you think. Instant, easy, no fuss. Completely the opposite of those pain points you just listed off.
Exactly.
They talk about enabling real-time fund transfers between blockchain wallets and bank accounts.
Real time. That's the key phrase there, compared to long wait times. And the announcement also mentions they cut down on risk exposure and aim to get rid of those unnecessary intermediaries.
Yeah, the middlemen who often add cost and delays.
Right, and complicate things like compliance.
Exactly. They also mention they support millions of tokens across multiple chains, which is important, right? People aren't just using one blockchain.
Good point. You need that flexibility. So it seems like they're really focused on compliance and also just building an interface that isn't a nightmare to use, making themselves the go-to for dependable fiat access.
Okay, but then there's the SKALE connection. This is where it gets interesting. The announcement says that by integrating with SKALE, Abyiss lets dApps and platforms natively integrate fiat access directly into their user experience.
Okay, let's pause there. Why SKALE? What's special about SKALE's setup that makes it a good match for Abyiss? The announcement lays it out pretty clearly. SKALE is, and I'm quoting here, a gas-free, EVM-compatible network with lightning-fast finality.
And those are the key ingredients, really. Think about what an on-off ramp service needs. It's probably dealing with a lot of transactions, right? Maybe high volume.
Constantly.
Yeah. And they need to settle fast. So the announcement argues that for something needing that kind of constant high volume flow, SKALE is basically the ideal infrastructure.
Right, because if every little transfer, fiat to crypto or back, cost you gas fees.
Or took ages to confirm.
Yeah, it would totally kill that easy as a debit card idea. So SKALE's high throughput and zero gas fees, like the announcement says, lets Abyiss do its thing faster and more cost effectively.
Exactly. It means the end user, hopefully, doesn't see those annoying costs or delays we talked about at the start.
Makes sense.
It ties directly back to solving those initial problems. Remove the gas fees, offer speed. SKALE helps Abyiss operate efficiently, especially as they grow, without needing to pass crazy transaction costs to users.
Okay.
And the announcement also adds a bit about SKALE's modular design, growing ecosystem, and dedicated developer community being reasons it was a logical choice for building this kind of financial app.
So if you're a developer, maybe building a game or a DeFi platform on SKALE already, having Abyiss right there integrated means you've now got direct access to these powerful fiat gateways.
Yeah, it simplifies things massively for them, like onboarding users who've never touched crypto before and only have fiat money.
Or paying out earnings easily.
Right. Or just generally building things that feel more accessible to, a much broader audience who might be put off by the usual crypto onboarding hassle.
Yeah, the announcement kind of paints this picture of a frictionless bridge from Web 2 to Web 3 that's ready for prime time.
And importantly, this isn't just some idea they're launching from scratch. The announcement gives some pretty solid numbers about Abyss's traction before this scale integration even happened.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, they mentioned seeing 30-50% month-over-month growth in transaction volume.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
30 to 50% per month. That's significant growth. That suggests people are actually using it.
Seems like it. They also say hundreds of active users each month and having processed hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Okay, so real usage, real volume.
Yep. And they've already got partnerships with over a dozen leading crypto companies and, like we said, support assets across multiple blockchains.
Okay.
So the argument is this existing momentum, it's now set to accelerate within Scale's ecosystem because Scale's cost-free, high-speed nature just makes Abyss's offering even better. They seem to think Scale will amplify the success they're already seeing.
It definitely sounds like they had some momentum going into this. The CEO of Abyiss, Drew Gillen, he's quoted in there, right? Talking about their bigger vision.
Yeah, he says the future of finance is seamless and decentralized. Pretty clear vision.
And what about the partnership specifically?
He's very direct.
Yeah.
Says, partnering with Scale allows us to empower their ecosystem with frictionless on and off ramping. He talks about making it easier than ever for users to access and utilize blockchain technology. Basically, they're excited about growing together and pushing for mass adoption in Web3.
Which loops right back to that first problem we talked about, getting rid of the barriers, making Web3 something anyone can use, not just the tech-savvy early crowd. The announcement really drives it home at the end, saying this partnership isn't just about payments, it's about enabling the next phase of crypto usability. And they state pretty confidently that with Abyiss on Scale, users and devs can finally interact with crypto the way it was meant to be, instantly, easily, and affordably.
That phrase, instantly, easily, and affordably, that really sums up the dream, doesn't it, for bridging TradFi and Web3? If they can actually deliver that, it's huge.
Okay, so let's wrap up this deep dive. We've looked at how Abyiss is setting itself up as a fix for those big friction points. The delays, the fees, the complexity in moving money between traditional finance and Web3.
Yeah, aiming for that debit card kind of ease. Fast, compliant transfers.
And launching on Scale is key to their strategy, using Scale's gas-free high-speed network to make their service faster and, more cost-effective.
Right, benefiting both the users and the developers building on Scale.
And critically, we saw evidence that Abyiss isn't just starting out. They showed some real momentum with growth, user numbers, volume, and partnerships already in place before this.
Definitely suggests their solution is resonating. And the CEO's comments really underline their goal. A seamless, decentralized future with this partnership seen as a big step towards breaking down barriers for mass Web3 adoption.
So, based on everything we've unpacked from this announcement, here's something for you, the listener, to think about. If, and it's still an if, but if this core bottleneck, getting traditional money into crypto and getting crypto back out, if that really becomes instant, easy, and affordable like they claim is now possible, what does that unlock? What kinds of new apps, new services, maybe totally new ways of interacting with finance become practical in Web3 that just seemed too clunky or too expensive before? If moving between fiat and crypto becomes as simple as, a couple of taps on your phone,
Yeah.
what fundamental changes could that really bring? That's the potential future this partnership hints at.